Friends, I love farmers. I hope you do too, okay? I love farmers. And my grandfather, right over there in York County, my grandfather was a farmer. Our land, our father's land, connected to our grandfather's land. So naturally, most of the year, we were all farmers, whether you want to be or not. Now, my favorite day was Tater Digging Day. Has anybody ever experienced Tater Digging Day? Okay, it's a wonderful thing. And so what would happen? Our dad would get us up bright and early in the morning, long before the sun ever thought about rising. We would head down to our grandparents. Now, the best part about Tater Digging Day was not just digging around the dirt for potatoes. That's fun. However, the best part about Tater Digging Day was the breakfast. The amazing breakfast that my grandma would lay out for all of us workers. It would put any Shoney's buffet to shame. This was a true amazing breakfast. And so I love Tater Digging Day mainly just for that. Farmers know how to eat. I love farmers. Even more than food or farmers, my true passion is reading, hearing, and telling stories. Besides my father, a great storyteller, one of my storytelling heroes was conservative radio host Paul Harvey. I didn't always care for his politics, but I loved his stories. Now, perhaps at Christmas time, some of you all might remember, I told one of his stories, one of his more famous stories right here in this space at Christmas time. Now, but however, I think he has a story even more well-known than that, and it's an homage to farmers. We've all heard it. It was even a Super Bowl commercial a couple of years ago. Now, I've done the research. The actual author of this story wasn't Paul Harvey. That author has been lost to us. And I should say that someday I hope to meet this person, man or woman, and shake their hand because they wrote an amazing tale about what God and what he needed with a farmer. So I'm going to share that story with you right now. And some stories I think are better told, some stories are better read. And I think this story is better read. And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody to get up before dawn and milk the cows and work all day in the fields, milk the cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. I need somebody with strong arms, strong enough to rustle a calf, yet gentle enough to deliver his own grandchild. Somebody to call hogs, tame cantankerous machinery, come home hungry, and have to wait for lunch until his wife is done feeding and visiting with the ladies' circle and telling them to be sure to come back real soon and mean it. So God made a farmer. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, make a harness out of hay wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, and who, at planting and harvest season, will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon. Then painting from quote-unquote tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God had to have somebody to ride the ruts at double speed to get the hay in ahead of the rain clouds and stop on mid-field and race to help when he sees the first smoke from a neighbor's place. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees, heave bales, and yet gentle enough to tame lambs and wing pigs and tend the pink-combed pullets. And who will stop his mower for an hour to mend the broken leg of a meadowlark. So God made a farmer. It had to be somebody who would plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed and feed and weed and breed and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk. Somebody to replenish the self-feeder and then finish a hard day's work with a 5-mile drive to church. Somebody who'd bail a family together with the soft, strong bonds of sharing, who'd laugh and then sigh and then respond with smiling eyes when his son says he wants to spend his life doing what Dad does. So God made a farmer. Now, friends, in my humble opinion, Paul Harvey promised and Paul Harvey delivered. I understand farmers a little better. All of that said, I want to talk about a bumper sticker. We all seen it, and I really don't like this bumper sticker. It's 4 words, and those 4 words are, no farms, no food. Who has ever seen that bumper sticker? Yeah, it's out there. I've seen it hundreds of times. It is on the guitar case of every folk singer in America. Who remembers Nicole Bolanis? It was on her guitar case. I couldn't stand that bumper sticker. Now, I have to say, it might seem hypocritical, but there's a reason I don't like this bumper sticker. And some of you might be thinking, no, Anthony, your grandfather was a farmer. You just recited, so God made a farmer. You said you love farmers, and I do love farmers, but not the slogan, no farms, no food. It isn't true. I love the idea behind the slogan, but it discounts millions of people around the world. My other grandfather was a waterman. As we speak, lobsters and swordfish are being pulled off the coast of New England. There are shrimpers in the Gulf of Mexico, crabbers in the North Pacific. Working right here in the Chesapeake Bay today are folks bringing in crabs and clams and oysters and fish. My other grandfather was a waterman. Now, even though there are plenty of women these days out at sea providing us with food, male or female, we still use the simple term waterman. Watermen are no better or worse than farmers, but they are still vital and worthy of inclusion. Story number 2. On the 9th day of creation, God looked out over his planned paradise and saw the land was well taken care of. But the water and everything that lives in it needed tending as well. So God made a waterman. God said, I need somebody to rise early ahead of the sun, be on board, and head out before missing the tide. A man in the darkness who would kiss goodbye his sleeping family, quickly reheat a piece of salt fish and a biscuit, then head back outside. Always outside. So God made a waterman. God needed a warrior, someone to take on the wind and waves and tides and storms. A soldier, small in stature compared to the immeasurable fury of nature. Someone who could stand and look out over a vast ocean and say, I challenge you. And do that today, tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. So God made a waterman. God needed someone who could go days without sleep when the fish were running. Someone who could nap cat-like in a coil of rope ready for the next run, the next strike. A cautious man who could listen to a radio report of calm weather, sneer and likely swear when his own eyes saw clouds building, when his own ears heard the faster rhythm of the waves on the hull, when he felt the hair on his own arms rise as the wind shifted. A man willing to fight the weather to bring home food for a table he rarely sat at. So God made a waterman. God needed someone whose favorite noise would be the sound of a winch, pulling in clams, crabs, fish, lobsters, oysters, scallops, and shrimp. A man who would give his gloves to a younger crew member, knowing his own skin would last longer than the lines he pulled, hour after hour. God needed someone who would know deep in his heart there was a good reason Jesus chose fishermen to be fishers of men. God needed someone who would want a better life for his children, but still be pleased when his own child stepped aboard and asked, where are we headed? So God made a waterman. Friends, the rock upon which God built his church was a fisherman. However, just as the good Lord loves fishermen and farmers, so should we as well. But we're not done yet. Story number 3. On the 10th day of creation, God looked out over his planned paradise and saw the land and the sea were well taken care of. But his people still struggled. God needed someone from which all the other professions would grow and flourish. So God made a teacher. God needed someone who would study for years, take what they learned, reshape it, and give it away. And one of the most brave acts a person can do, stand in front of others and teach. Stand in front of others, exposed, frightened, alone, and yet have the courage to share a love of learning. So God made a teacher. God said, I need someone that can love a child enough to praise them, scold them, grade them, guide them, test them, and even love them enough to fail them. God needed someone who, besides being an expert on 7 different subjects, was also a nurse, a counselor, a referee, and sometimes a missing parent. Someone who could do this for not 1 child, but 12, or 20, or 30. So God made a teacher. God needed someone to rise early, say a prayer, set their own family off, be at school early for a parent-teacher conference, and present 5 different lessons to students who were rarely the same person they were the day before. Someone who would just sigh at the 3 o'clock bell, knowing their day was only half through. Someone to gather hundreds of pieces of paper in a bag and not go home, but coach track, direct a musical, make sets and costumes, manage a meeting of the art club, chess club, drama club, glee club, and debate team. A sacrificial person to leave school late, put a quick supper on the table, and head back to school to take notes for the PTA meeting, keep score at a ball game, and rehearse the band, choir, or string quartet. So God made a teacher. God said, I need someone who can conduct a class over a computer, someone who can teach a child through plexiglass, someone who is dedicated enough to education and learning to spend not an hour, but an entire day inside a crowded school building during a pandemic. So God made a teacher. God needed someone where too much rest would never be enough. Someone when asked why they became a teacher would not speak of self-sacrifice, but instead speak of a past teacher or two that sacrificed for them. God needed someone who would fight back a tear over their own child, who would change majors in college 7 times, but end up teaching just like mom or dad does. So God made a teacher. We're almost done. On the 1,652,000th day of creation, give or take. Let's hear that number again. On the 1,652,000th day of creation, give or take, God looked out over his planned paradise and saw that his people still struggled in their hearts. So God sent himself. The farmers, the watermen, the teachers in the world needed to see and know a God who loved them enough to die for them. So God sent himself. God said, I need someone who will allow himself to be betrayed, mocked, beaten, whipped, tortured, and nailed to a cross. God said, I need my own child to suffer a horrendous death and resurrection, so there can be no doubt my people know I love them and forgive them. So God sent himself. Friends, no matter your profession or what you do, may we all know the sacrificial love of Jesus Christ. Please join me in prayer. Dear God, thank you for all the wondrous positions and professions we have in this world. And they are so important and vital. But God, thank you for you. Thank you for dying on the cross. Thank you for doing what you did for us. Amen.